What you're looking at is a stream from November 5th, 2020, which is 2 days after the presidential election in America that Donald Trump lost and the now President Joe Biden won. The stream contains Thomas Schoenberger, a conversation with Thomas Schoenberger, Jim Watkins, who is this person on the left here, that runs a platform called 8kun with his son Ron Watkins. On the right of the picture you have James Kingsley, this James Q Patriot, and you also hear the voice of a fourth person, who is Janon. Now on this stream they were promoting dangerous conspiracy theories that led to violence on January the 6th. Conspiracy theories regarding Cicada, regarding Qanon, and Thomas Schoenberger mentions that the election was stolen and that they're in a revolution, and he mentions cyber war and actual war and these kind of dangerous narratives that ended up in January the 6th. Now, one of these people, Janon, is actually a moderator on a channel that I've been keeping an eye on that makes out that it's anti-Thomas Schoenberger. The channel is Just Me Too, and the channel owner's name is Jesse Davis. And he says and claims and has emails and evidence to prove that Thomas Schoenberger's circle goes back to 2017, and he has emails from round about September where in the months leading up to that his wife Paula Davis, who has a channel Pavana she's known by, got into some of these puzzles, things that Thomas Schoenberger's circle push, things like Cicada, for example. And she ended up having a mental breakdown, and her husband had to take her to a mental hospital for an assessment. And Thomas Schoenberger, who isn't a medical doctor, was passing himself off, impersonating being an actual doctor. And Jesse Davis has shown notes from the hospital where it's got a mention of Dr. Schoenberger suggests that she needs rest and potentially Xanax, which is a very strong medicine. Now, like I've already said, Thomas Schoenberger is not a medical doctor. He had no right to be recommending courses of treatment or courses of prescribed medicine, since he's not a medical doctor. So anyhow, Jesse Davis, his whole raison d'etre for this channel is that they oppose Thomas Schoenberger. But we'll have a whole group of right-wing political operatives or influencers / trolls propagating and amplifying dangerous conspiracy theories with the objective of getting Donald Trump back into the White House. Here in the chat you have one of Jesse Davis' moderators. He's got this blue wrench here that you can see now. He's pushing, so we'll have the one that's highlighted, and Jesse Davis has got it highlighted here, Janon on the screen. We will try and get Trump re-elected. Now, how are they supposing to achieve getting Donald Trump re-elected? Well, I would strongly argue that it's pushing some of the same dangerous disinformation narratives that were pushed before, that come from some of Thomas Schoenberger's circle, like Qanon. So now we're going to change to a different tab, but it's the same stream from Jesse Davis just 1 day ago, so just yesterday. And we're at 4 hours and 2 minutes here, around about. You've got Jesse Davis on the left, and you've got this other person called Daniel Dowd on the right hand side. Now, I've watched up to this point in the stream, and you have this Daniel Dowd, who is also claims to have known Thomas Schoenberger through Cicada and things like that. and he was pushing stuff that he seen the emails and stuff that were hacked by the Russians in the 2016 election cycle, and where it tracked right back to Gritsov-Dubovoi Street in Moscow, and 12 Russian intelligence officers from the GRU have been indicted by the FBI to do with hacking the Democratic National Committee and spearfishing John Podesta's emails. And then these emails were weaponised through different sites, including through Julian Assange at WikiLeaks, who actually approached Guccifer 2.0 and asked to be sent some of the hacked, stolen information so that it could be weaponised and used against Hillary Clinton in the run-up to the Democratic Convention in the 2016 cycle. So Julian Assange, it can be argued, was acting as an agent of Russia in order to benefit Donald Trump, who's in a foreign country. Julian Assange is Australian, but he ended up stuck in this Ecuadorian embassy here in Britain, and he's wanted by the Americans for computer hacking crimes. Some of the same stuff that Russia was doing, but separate to that. And also publishing and promoting, amplifying all different kinds of classified information. Everybody has an idea who Julian Assange is. And that also, as a cover story for Russia hacking the 2016 election, they used a dead person, and his name was Seth Rich. And they used and weaponised this Seth Rich murder as an alternative source for where the hacked emails came from. Through this person here, Ed Butowski. Now, Thomas Schoenberger and others went to a meeting at Ed Butowski's house on September 28th, 2017, if I'm not mistaken, and were recruited. Thomas Schoenberger and Manuel Chavez were recruited by this billionaire here, Ed Butowski, and the objective from hiring Thomas Schoenberger and Manuel Chavez is this here. One of the big conclusions we need to draw from this is that the Russians did not hack our computer systems and steal emails, and there was no collusion between Trump and the Russians. So some clear objectives there of what Ed Butowski expected from hiring Thomas Schoenberger, and it was to give an alternative scenario other than that it was Russia that hacked into the DNC and spearfished John Podesta. So we'll have that. Now, getting back to today, or yesterday should I say, so you have this Janon that has been given a moderator range from Jesse Davis, the channel owner. We're at 3 hours 49 minutes here, so we're just a little bit back, 10 minutes back from the previous tab that I showed you. And you have this Janon here, pushing people, amplifying, I would say, and propagating and encouraging people to go to this Jim Watkins 8kun channel. So you have this Janon here, putting things on 8kun is no harder than posting something on Twitter. It's a clearness website, just like 4chan. And then he's corrected it, ClearNet. Okay, so we're just going to follow some Janon's comments down. And then he's got next, and he gives you an address for how to get to 8kun. Will take you to 8kun. I don't know why people think it's a dark website or something. And then next he's got, and here's where it gets back to the weaponised narratives that they're promoting and wanting people to go to this 8kun for. 8kun top Q research in Google will take you right to the Q board. It's not hidden on Google at all. And then something about they have their own boards where they post nonsense. Anyone can make their own board. And then Babyfist, these next comment down, Babyfist and his friends run their own board, for instance. That is the meaning of ABCU_8. Now, this Babyfist is another avatar name of a person that appears here in the chat very often on Jesse's channel, and I think has possibly even been a guest as well. And I've also seen him on a stream that he did with Jim Watkins. So we're going to follow this down now. Janon, a lot of this stuff is to do with it's all deliberately cryptic and mystical and occult themes. So he's got TS, who's Thomas Schoenberger, and Cicada have nothing to do with Q. We'll see about that in a minute. I would bet Q doesn't like them. Next comment, I know the people who run 8Q. That's Jim Watkins and Jim Watkins' son, Ron Watkins. I'm not defensive. I want to separate fact from fiction. You are good. And then, trust me, I knew both Hot Wheels. Now, Hot Wheels is actually a person called Frederick Brennan that has a genetic condition that makes it so that he's been in a wheelchair his whole life. But he ended up really, really good with computers. And it was him that actually designed this 8chan. And then it was passed over to this Jim Watkins. Now, on some of these chants, so Qanon started on an obscure message board called 4chan. And there's been other augmented reality games, psychological operations, that launched from this 4chan. Now, they were seemingly getting some pushback on this 4chan. So then they moved it from there to this other one that was 8chan, this one that Frederick Brennan programmed to make it work. And so there they were given a free space where no one really challenged the narratives that they were pushing. But on some of these message boards, people have live streamed things like mass shootings. So the Christchurch massacre was live streamed on one of these obscure platforms, and there was another mass shooting, I think somewhere in America, that was also live streamed on one of these platforms. And I think at that point then, Frederick Brennan distanced himself from the 8chan that then became what's known as 8kun, after they had bad publicity and it got taken off the internet and then got put back on, but with a different name and on different servers. So he got, trust me, I know both Hot Wheels and Jim Watkins, and when they had a falling out, I was in a very weird place and saw some things. And then another tweet. We're actually going to go back to the other tab and we're going to play a little bit of video where these ones then say that they're, so we will try and get Trump re-elected. You see that part that's highlighted? And then I don't care about cicada larpers who can't post on a PGP key. Because Thomas Schoenberger claims to be cicada, but there's a PGP, a pretty good privacy encryption key, and all real cicada posts, because it goes back to 2012 actually. There was one that was posted in 2012, 2013 and 2014, and they were all had this PGP key, and then it disappeared for a couple of years, and then it did a reappearance but without this PGP key, and run very likely by Thomas Schoenberger, Manuel Chavez and others. So I don't care about cicada larpers who can't post on a PGP key who think I ever lived in Iowa. I didn't. We love calling them out. So now we're going to listen to these two, Jesse and Daniel Dowd, and they're going to say, because Jesse Davis here claims that they're opposed to Thomas Schoenberger and the things that Thomas Schoenberger pushes that drive people a bit strange in their head, and it's been known to radicalise actually millions of people. And you'll hear Thomas Schoenberger explaining that himself. So they're supposed to be opposed to the things that Thomas Schoenberger does, but their objectives seem very, very similar to what Thomas Schoenberger's are, and that is to benefit Donald Trump and to benefit Russia along the way, because we showed you this other thing with Ed Butowski, and that's exactly why Ed Butowski hired them, Thomas Schoenberger and Manuel Chavez, in the first place. And then a month after that is when Qanon first appeared on that 4chan, almost a month exactly from the September 28th meeting that they had at Ed Butowski's house. And so he put them up in a hotel, Chavez and Schoenberger, for a few weeks, and then he toughed them out of the hotel. And then he appeared in Mexico at a person Arturo Tafoya's house, he's known as Lestat, and to say about getting him to design cicada videos. But the cicada videos, I would argue, were actually just a front for the actual biggest disinformation operation, psychological operation that there's ever been, and that is Qanon. It served a purpose from when it was launched in 2017 to try to get Trump re-elected in 2020, and then when he lost the election, to try and promote violence, to try and overthrow the certification of the election that verified that Joe Biden had won and he's now the president. And you've seen exactly how violent it turned on January the 6th, 2021. So we'll just listen now to Daniel Dowd saying that he's going to vote for Donald Trump. I'm having to wear headphones. I'm not actually used to wearing headphones. And then we'll go and listen to a few minutes of that other stream that I highlighted that was from November 5th. And you'll hear Thomas Schoenberger with the election denial, with saying that it's a revolution, that there's a cyber war, that there's a war, and then they also mention a person called Bijan Kian, and also a person by the name of Michael Flynn, that most people have actually heard of. So we'll just go back to here, listen to them saying they're going to vote for Donald Trump if he's running again, and then we'll go back to November 2020.
We'll try to get Trump reelected. I don't care about cicada larpers who can't post on PGP, who think I ever denial. I didn't. We love just calling.
Oh, listen, man, Janon, I'm an independent, but listen, if Trump's on the ballot, I'm voting for Trump.
If Trump's on the ballot, I'm voting for Trump.
Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la.
And he was also earlier in the stream pushing the stuff to do about the hacked emails and there was a lot that was in there, and then stuff about Pizzagate, actually. So now we'll go and listen to this stream, and hopefully this, I'm still not fully used to OBS, and I've not been making videos for a long time, so I'm actually a bit hesitant, and there's some mumbling and hesitancy, and I'm not sure about the sound levels and things. So now we'll listen to Thomas Schoenberger promoting a cyber war and revolution and this kind of thing.
I started to appreciate, and praying medics.
Cicada, you'll see
a lot of these
references to
people
all
have
of
their
this.
opinions now. Realize I already was realizing they're not.
There's Thomas Schoenberger, Jim Watkins, James Q. Patriot, and Janon. That's Jim Watkins, James Kingsley, and you hear Thomas Schoenberger's voice, and you hear this Janon's voice in a minute. References. So behind him, he's got this skull with a WWG1, WGA, so a reference to QAnon there. He's got this logo for 8kun, which is the icon for their platform. And you've got Donald Trump, and you'll see in the back in a minute that there's a cicada thing appears over his, and Q references, and they're talking about Q.
A Q, but all of us play an active role. Those of us who spread this message are, in a sense, a part of it because we engage with it, we engage in it. But where did the Thomas? Do you feel that Q came out of the cicada, and how did it do that, or what do you feel is the because we know that there seems to be some similarity between it. So what do you think that cicada was a model?
I think that cicada teaches interior renaissance. I think that it's not a revolution. I think that you can look at Q not as drama, but you have to look into history and see these movements that have developed, whether they're the Reformation or whether they're the Peasants' Revolt, or whether, let's take, for example, the Revolutionary War. You had the flag bearer and the drummer and the officers, and they were high priority targets. You remove them.
You know what? You hit the point. I didn't mean that the whole thing was fictional as in a drama. I meant my part in this is fictional.
We're all going to.
It'll be in history for sure, but I'm not. I'm not the guy posting with the trip code.
Exactly, but take a look at the Q movement. It at one point hit 30 million, and most of them were evangelical Christians.
30 million evangelical Christians, like Qanon. Right. Now you get the worldwide figure, and it's hundreds of millions.
It's now considered to be 250 million around the world. Once again, let's go back to something that we can all relate to, the Revolutionary War. And you've got the flag bearer, the fife and drummer, and the officers. These are high priority targets. If you remove them, and the cohesion of the attack could be easily broken. The officers are there to provide orders and leadership. The drummer has communications. The flag bearer, a rallying point and focus of the attack. And what we're seeing is a mutation of late 18th century battle onto a cyber field of battle. So sharpen your battle axes, your pikes, and your broadswords. This is what's happening. It is, you speak of peace, James, and I understand that. But what's happening right now is there is an internal war, and I believe that tens of millions of Americans are watching the fraud that has just occurred at the ballot box. And there's going to be a lot of investigations. It is shocking to all of us, and we're frightened that we're going to go the way of 1917 Russia or Mao Zedong's China. You know, this is what Stalin said is, your vote doesn't matter. Who counts your vote? That's the person who matters.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
You're absolutely on target. You are
Thomas, and I think if
pray
you
for
could mention
peace,
real quick,
but prepare
there
for
was
war.
a puzzle piece, right, in one of the cicada puzzles called Q MP3.
That voice that you're hearing now is Janon. Look over his shoulder, that's a cicada reference. They're mentioning about war, revolution, sharpen your battle axes. Just continue on. Now, Jesse Davis and Just Me Too, they claim that they are opposed to Thomas Schoenberg. But their objectives seem to be, to me anyway, in my opinion, they might all be part of the same team, with the same objectives, to use weaponised disinformation narratives to get Donald Trump back into the White House, no matter how unfit to be the president that he actually is.
Or Q.wave. And I think a lot of people took that and just kind of ran with it and said, oh, this has got to be proof that there's a connection. But it, from what I understand, it was a smaller puzzle piece, and I don't really think there was a direct connection there. Can you talk about that at all?
That is a curiosity, because you brought up a name to me. I won't bring it up, Thomas, but you did bring up a go-between, because in a bit here we're going to talk about General Flynn. We're going to talk about Qanon. I don't know if I pronounced his name right, but these are people. Do you know him? Is
Yes.
it true that you know Bijan?
Yes.
Okay.
It is true.
And he was General Flynn's partner, was he not, in his business?
He was indeed. And he was the president of the Import-Export Bank in California. And then he became part of the Pentagon mechanism.
So you see right there, we do see there is a Thomas connection, I guess, in a way, because we've got somebody who we're all 6 degrees connected, so that's not necessarily any proof of anything. But do you believe that Bijan had anything to do with this?
No, I don't.
No. Okay.
I do believe that General Flynn would be the primary suspect for Q.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. I think most people by now have kind of figured out that Flynn is actively involved. I mean, his whole family took the oath. Remember, we were all taking the oath, and I did. I mean, I hope most of you did. It was. I thought it was a wonderful. Enoch.
So there you have it. Mentions of a person called Bijan Qanon. Mentions about General Flynn, Michael Flynn. Mentions about Thomas Schoenberger knows Bijan Qanon, that Bijan Qanon was in a business with Michael Flynn, Flynn Intel Group, I think it was. So they're all actually linked together. And you had a mention of Bijan Qanon in the Pentagon as well. I have read a court document where Thomas Schoenberger's doing a deposition and he makes reference to Bijan Qanon being a contact at the Pentagon. Now, like I say, these people say that they're separate, that Jesse Davis is opposed to Thomas Schoenberger, but their objectives, to me, seem to be very much the same. And I've showed you examples of this Janon, whose voice you heard in this stream here, pushing Qanon narratives in Jesse Davis' stream, which is this same stream, Tommy Boy Travels on Road. So this is just a few minutes later, 10 minutes later, that you have Janon pushing definite Qanon propaganda, and here's just another couple of examples. Read the post. You obviously haven't. Before every election, Q heavily pushed going out to vote. Trust the plan has a lot to do with what I just told you. Some of this will be lawfare, nothing you can do. And trust Trump and the best lawyers that money can buy. Don't do anything stupid. Trust the plan. It was always going to be fought out in the courts. Q knew that. Q is smart. This isn't some cicada lark nonsense. America is at stake. This is an online movement of patriots. So there you go. My belief is that all of these people, all of this group of right-wing political operatives are all working together, propagating and amplifying dangerous conspiracy theories, including Qanon, that have led to violence on January the 6th, and we'll just finish off with what the Department of Homeland Security make of Qanon. So, of this page here, Conspiracy Theory Trends, Qanon. The Institute for Strategic Dialogue has released Genesis of a Conspiracy Theory, Key Trends in Qanon Activity since 2017. A report analysing the Qanon conspiracy, including a rise in activity amid the coronavirus pandemic. According to the report, this conspiracy theory claims that an elite group of child trafficking paedophiles have been ruling the world for a number of decades, and that President Trump has a secret plan in place to bring this group to justice. Close quote. As believers in this conspiracy have grown, so has the breadth of its content. It's what's turned into what's called a super conspiracy. Currently, the QAnon conspiracy is being tethered to other ideologies, such as, quote, anti-vaccine, anti-5G, anti-Semitic and anti-migrant tropes, close quote, conspiracies. As of 2019, some of this stuff gets weaponised by the likes of Steve Bannon. Well, he helped to get Donald Trump into the White House, and these hacked emails and that was weaponised by like Cambridge Analytica, where Steve Bannon comes into play. And it also came into play with Brexit in 2016, and then with Donald Trump getting put into the White House. And these folk helped push some of these same narratives about the anti-migrant tropes, whatever, for example, the anti-vaccine, anti-5G. These kind of things are pushed out by some of these right-wing political influencers, operatives / trolls. So we'll continue on. As of 2019, the FBI has designated QAnon as a, quote, domestic terror threat, close quote, because of its potential to incite extremist violence. And you've very much seen extremist violence on display in the real world on January the 6th, 2021. Propagated and promoted and encouraged by all of this circle of people, Thomas Schoenberger's circle. In spite of this, several US congressional candidates for the 2020 November election proclaimed support for the QAnon conspiracy. Several key events from 2017 to 2020 have contributed to its spread, including Jeffrey Epstein's arrest and death, and the coronavirus pandemic lockdowns. What started out as a primarily US-based conspiracy theory has expanded to gain international recognition, which you heard Thomas Schoenberger alluding to, 250 million worldwide people. Currently, QAnon followers seem to be propagating misinformation pertaining to both COVID-19, coronavirus disease 2019, and the George Floyd protests, all while membership across various digital platforms such as Facebook seem to be on the rise. Now, this video isn't going to make me very popular with Thomas Schoenberger's circle of operatives, but there's not a lot that I can do about that. I've been given permission to apply to be able to do live streaming now, but I don't know if I'll ever use the capability, because, like I've just explained, doing this video here and explaining about what I believe these right-wing political operatives are up to is not going to make me very popular with that group of people. The same group of people that I had issues with from Thomas Schoenberger's circle. And one of the things that they use is hacking capabilities.